All right, this is Common Criminal Podcast. I'm your host, Vince Polson, and today we've got a good friend of mine, former mentor, I guess in a lot of ways still a mentor, the Kia jump man, the ancient one, Keenan Rayner.
Yee yee. I bet I'm in the country,
Yeah, so
man. That's what I learned. I learned a little yee yee. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that, but hey, we adapt.
yeah, you're out in the mountains. My mom was born out in the mountains in of old West
Where
Virginia.
at? Oh,
She grew up like in the Point Pleasant
oh
area.
yeah, Mothman. She's out there. Yep.
Yeah, she grew up in Mothman Country.
Mm-hmm.
She and my dad both hate that movie.
Oh, I bet. I bet
Yeah.
it's just kind of weird, like everything else in the state. But the crime rate's low. Crime rate is very low.
Yeah, the crime rate, well, where there's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of opportunities for
Facts.
crime, as it
Facts. You
turns
don't
out.
have anything to commit
Uh,
crime with. It's like, hey, how much crime can we do with
yeah,
a stick? No, I'm
basically.
sorry. That's terrible. West by God, I love them. I love them.
that's just that's just
It's
that's just rude.
socioeconomics, right?
Uh,
That's where we're going here. So I get it.
yeah, the currency of
Yes,
social
sir.
interactions. Uh, But yeah, so when we worked, I guess I already said for anybody listening, you did definitely start out as a good mentor to me for pretty much the worst car salesman, with a person with absolutely zero aptitude for talking to strangers, somebody who really didn't
Right.
give a fuck
It
about
still
cars,
doesn't.
by the
don't
way. Uh,
don't let it get
uh,
twisted.
and yeah, I still don't. I got out of the car business and then went and bought a '04 Buick. So,
What kind of Buick you
oh,
got?
I'm
You didn't tell me that, man. That's my favorite
oh
car.
yeah, I'm driving
The old
around
ones.
a '04 LeSabre.
And that will run forever. You got a 3.8 in there. That's the best. Okay, listeners, that's the best V6 ever made, known to man. It's called an L6. Not that you would care. It was made in China. It won a bunch of awards. GM bought the patent, and that's literally why the GM cars would last from the 90s into the early 2000s before the recession. Everything after that is not the same. So you just got a little knowledge right there. You didn't ask for that.
Well, there we go. And that kind of knowledge is why Keenan was he was actually in charge of the internet department when I first started at Nissan. And after I took some time wasting a lot of customers' time and my own time not selling
Right.
cars and yet working 60 hours a week, I was able to learn a few things about pretty much how the commerce of the car business, but business in general, is pretty much moving to the internet. So a lot of the old models for how we saw successful businesses they've had to adapt with the ever changing world.
Correct.
And Keenan, you're kind of a bit of an expert on that topic, being that you've worked in a lot of digital spaces. You've done a digital marketing campaign for what was it, Nismo
Right.
RVA.
Yeah.
That video went basically viral. So you kind of have a weird understanding of both the traditional commerce and then also this social currency that we have now with viral videos and things like that.
You're exactly right. And it's funny you say that. I was trying to get an author name, but actually, our old GM actually recommended a book. And I remember when I first started there was a book called Duct Tape Selling. And, ironically, I think 1% of the staff actually bought the book. It was a test to see who was going to buy it. And I think I was that 1%. So it's by John Jantsch, I think is the name or something like that. And pretty much what it's talking about is in the past, and this goes for all industry, you had marketing, which was completely separate from sales. Well, in this day and age, like you said, this digital space, marketing and sales is the same thing. Just look at Amazon. So your marketing is your sales is your marketing, where you have word of mouth and blah, blah, blah. And it's just not instead of separating the two like we used to do. For instance, I used to work at J.C. Penney, which is a failing, rapidly failing retail company, just like all the other ones, and they just didn't want to change. So whether they, revamped their marketing department or the sales department, they always did it separately. And they literally had teams hired. They had separate teams hired, and these are completely separate. I guess you want to say sex, SECTS, different sects of that place, but they're not working cohesively together. So, as you can see, look at the sales now. So that's pretty much it, man. It's just like your marketing is your sales is your marketing. It's just simplifying it, man, making it easier because that's a consumer, which we all are. We just want it to be easy. That's all we want. We just want it to be as easy as possible.
Yeah, and with the car business especially, it was funny because I mean, obviously we worked for some pretty successful like old school car guys. I mean, at least in my perception, I didn't have the diversity of
Hmm.
employers in the car business the way you've gotten to see how a lot of different people do it. But my impression working with the guys that we worked for, they definitely were successful in what they did, but it was interesting
Right.
being with somebody like you who kind of has a fresh set of eyes compared to the way that they do things, or rather the way they did things at the time.
Yeah, and a big reason for that is so I'm a historian. I do have a degree in history and all that good stuff. But my whole thing is I always look back in order to look in the present in order to understand the future. So with that being said, just looking at the car industry, so everything before 2008, that everything was completely different. The whole world was, I mean, the sales world was different. I don't want to go too deep into it, but let's say like in the 90s, man, yeah, I've heard so many stories of people selling Corsicas and Berettas and I mean, these unlimited stickers, and then they didn't have the paperwork that we had. They had like five papers on. Everybody could get approved for a lease. Everybody could get approved for a vehicle. These cars are like $9,000. You know what I mean? So mass production was at its peak. Debt and credit was at its peak, and it was just easier so you can actually have those wild stories and the stereotype that we kind of picked up. We're getting the aftermath of the generation before us. So after '08 and everybody kind of went broke in the whole 9 yards and the banks changed and they got tighter, that changed the whole lending method. So after that, not only did the lending method change, we went into this internet era that progressed. So now the consumer got more tools and more armed because look what just happened to them. So the only, the imperceptible thing to happen will be for you to arm the consumer if you want them to keep spending money, right? So that's what's going on. So now the internet is helping giving people these tools to get smarter, which they should. There's nothing wrong with that, right? There shouldn't be deception in business either. But then at the same time, the car industry had to change its model. Now, a big thing with the car industry, what people don't realize, and I probably get sniped for saying this, but is that the car industry is probably the last industry as big as it is that is still franchised. So in any other organization or any other, excuse me, in any other industry, this would be outlawed. If you catch my drift, like think about the amount of income, yeah, yeah, the amount of that comes into the auto industry is unreal, and the fact that all the dealerships are franchised should tell you that it's the only industry that you can still
You're
barter.
right. You will
I
get
mean, I
sniped for
think we
saying
in
that.
America we call it negotiate, but I guess in the world it's called it's called bartering. I'm sorry to laugh at it, but it's true. So, and that's just looking at the realism, of what it is. I'm still in that industry too, because with that being said, that industry also, pays a little bit
Right.
more than other industries. So I try to compare it
Yeah.
to like sports. I guess recently now, this is 9/11 today. This is my, lucky number, but Kevin Durant, he just complained, I think, on the news or Wall Street Journal about he gets sick of the
Oh,
the NBA
absolutely.
sometimes the industry part of it and all the gossip and the politics and all that. But all the gossips and all the politics and all that kind of loose and funny money is what allows him to get that income that he has. So it's a double edged sword. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. And I mean, a lot of especially with the car business, with Tesla kind of making their way into the market space, and they've got the direct to consumer style of sales, which in Virginia, since we're pretty strong on the car dealership franchises. I think the only factory direct
Right.
store is the Toyota. It's actually a CarMax that sells new Toyotas from the factory near Virginia Beach. That's the only factory
Okay.
direct store I know of in Virginia.
Wow.
And yeah, and it took them a long time to get that to work. And then there's a similar amount of controversy with the Teslas trying to sell Teslas in Virginia
Right.
because a lot of dealer groups complain that they haven't fulfilled the stipulations of their charter in Northern Virginia. And then around the time I was getting out of the car business, they were trying to get their own store in Short Pump. But it was going to be a similar situation. It was actually going to be a brick and mortar Carvana dealership that was
Correct.
selling new Teslas.
That's
So
where I
it
was
kind of,
going. I didn't mean to. I was going
yeah.
to run into Carvana and being interested. So where I'm from Cleveland, to be exact, is Warrensville Heights, suburb right on the borderline. Anyways, it's still Cleveland, but anyways, so there's a Carvana that they built literally right around the corner from where I grew up, and it's interesting to see that tower now. Whenever I go back and visit family, and I see this Carvana tower, I'm like, that wasn't there, and then it makes you wonder, like, why would that be there? So The industry is going through a complete shift. It's going through an overhaul, which you know. That's why you were able to hop in, hop out, and all that good stuff. Is that it is going through an overhaul because let's be honest, you drive an '04 Buick, correct?
Yeah.
How many miles are on your Buick?
155,000.
Probably runs perfectly fine.
Yeah, actually, pretty much.
Okay,
I put a
so
new battery in it, and that's it.
exactly. So my thing is this. So what would possess you to trade beyond materialism? You get what I mean? Like, why would you ever try to upgrade? So cars are made to last 20, with the average car now lasts 20 years. So
Yeah,
what's
it's
going to
like
happen to
15 to
these?
20 years easy.
Yeah, but if we so if we produce the same amount of cars every year, but everybody already has a car, what happens to these cars that are overproduced? It's like, a lot of things when this happens, a lot of funny things seem to happen in the industry. I don't want to give any conspiracy theories, but remember Volkswagen? They had to destroy a million cars or something like that. Remember all those cars they had to kind of liquidate
Oh
and
yeah,
downsize?
they parked him forever.
Exactly. That's because they made too many cars. So these things aren't just a coincidence that they happen. It's just that, let's be honest, you have too many cars. We got too many microwaves. They got to start breaking. You know what I mean? I always say that your grandma's microwave still works, but the one you just bought in college, that one broke before the senior year ended. You
That
know?
is crazy because my late grandma on my mom's side, her microwave, my aunt still uses
Right.
it. So the last time I went and stayed with my aunt, I had no idea how to use the microwave because the controls don't even look like a
It's like
microwave
a
that you'd
knob.
be
Yeah, it's like
familiar
a
with.
T. It
Yeah,
doubles as a TV of like a local
yeah,
TV and microwave at the same
it
time.
looks like the old school
Yep,
TV.
yep,
Yeah,
yep, yeah. So say
the thing is behemoth too. You could cook a chicken
cook
in
it.
it. It's a microwave
It cooks a
oven.
chicken.
Like
It
you,
cures acne if you stand close enough to it. All that good stuff. But that's
yeah, I won't use that microwave when I stay there, like unless I go to like the next room or I'm wearing like a pair of like lead boxers.
it works too well. But no, so that's what so that not to leave and go on a tangent, but that's kind of what's going on with the industry. So when you have the reason somebody like you, and you were downplaying yourself, the reason somebody like you could excel so quickly, somebody who's very analytical, but not only that, use a lot of logic. So the logic is the key right now. The art of selling, and you can do all the studying and research you want to do. Og Mandino, greatest salesman in the world, richest man in Babylon. I can go on, Think and Grow Rich, all these different sales books you can read. And it's the same constant. It's not sales. It's people are people. And what people are going through right now is being broke. So if people are people and people right now are dealing with being broke and they have to pay for something that's broke people usually can't afford, then that's not really a sale. That's more of a financial, I guess for now, what would you want to call us? Financial advisors?
In a way, by the time I was in finance, it kind of seemed like a lot of the
Okay,
we called it special finance.
let's talk
You
about
had to
that.
kind of coach people on fixing up their credit a lot.
I forgot about that. You went from being a bartender to being a salesman to being that
Oh no,
salesman
I was 20 years old when they got me to come into Nissan. I was only
server.
20. I was
Sorry.
just a server.
Sorry for the
I
state of
wasn't
Virginia.
allowed
Y'all
to be a
you didn't hear that.
bartender until
Statutes.
after I
Like we got some
quit.
years for the statute of limitations. I'm sorry, but anyway, so you were a server or a waiter. I almost said waitress. You were a
Yeah,
waiter
they don't know
that went
that.
into a salesman that had a dream car of an Evo that ended up making enough money to buy an Evo MR that comes in. Then goes into the finance department and then ends up making more money and then goes into an assistant internet manager
And
position,
then
making more
flipped it.
money than he made in the past year. Literally, this happened in about 6 to 9 months. And let's not forget that you got ran over by a car. So out of all this stuff, while on the clock. So out of all the, this is all very true. So out of all these things, man, like I said, it's not
That's true
surprising.
for
It's just
anybody who's
logic, man.
listening.
It's like I remember when I had you guys, and we were supposed to be like a reject department. The internet's always the reject department. The people that can't sell, they go to the internet department because they can't. Yeah, their parents like, we don't believe in you, but we pay this guy to kind of make
Yeah,
something.
they stuffed us in the
That's kind of how it
closet and
goes. So
waited
that's
for us
really
to
what it
starve to
is. So,
death.
I remember seeing it. I was like, wait a minute. It's not that everybody up here can't sell. It's that everybody up here is just extra logical. You know what I mean? It's aren't just the people that are just going to stand outside, for 10 hours a day looking at a corner for one person to drive up. These people are thinking the next step and futures and all that stuff. It's a real life that they're thinking about. So I think just applying those real life principles and the logic that we had, and mind you, everybody was millennial and younger, the fact that we did have that mind state, I think that's what allowed us to excel because obviously we're smart enough to see what works, but then we're also smart enough to say, okay, that works, but how can we make it better? So I think that's literally it. That's what we did as a group and as a team, and we read each other. And that's really it, man. I think knowing each other's personalities. I think I made you guys do a Myers Briggs test. I think I made the whole department. Yep. There we go. There we go. And now remember, these change. So as we change as
Yeah,
people,
I remember
if you
that.
take
The
your
I'm
personality test now and a year
ENTJ.
from now, if you haven't changed or tried
Yeah,
to advance, you're probably the same personality type. But if you are changing and melding, you're going to change. And that's something Ray Dalio speaks on in Principles, the book. He mentions that with his company, Bridgewater,
you
he's a
know,
billionaire. He said that literally single-handedly changed his company once he learned the personality types of all the individuals that worked for him. That allowed him to see what he was working with and then what he can do with those people. So with me, that's just the innate ability. I got that from basketball, from being a point guard in basketball and having to know my personnel and passing the ball. This metaphor, passing the ball to a guy in the corner who's completely wide open, right? But then he bricks it or he airballs it. I get in trouble as a point guard for passing it to him in the corner. They say know your personnel, and I've heard that. That just plays in my head to this day. And I remember when it first started hearing it, especially in college. I was like, "Why do they keep saying that?" I was like, "I'm passing it to the open guy. I'm a point guard." He's like, "Know your personnel. If you pass it to him and he's wide open, and there's a 20% chance he's going to make it, but then you pass it to this guy and maybe he is covered, but there's a 45% chance he's going to make it. Which one is the better play?" You see what I mean? So once I learned that, I was like, okay, I gotta always know my personnel in life because you can get way more out of other people as a unit than you can out of yourself alone. So
being that it was a group of young guys, and you were managing us, but still a young guy yourself. It was kind of weird because it initially my reaction to being in the internet department was a monkeys running the zoo type of deal where it's like, holy shit, why did they leave us alone up here? Like, what did they think was going to happen?
hold on, did that Gucci? Did we already settle that
Oh,
H&M shirt thing?
Jesus.
Would you? Did you
Don't
say
get
the
me
monkey
wrapped up in
shirt
this. I
thing?
don't feel like editing this shit out of the podcast.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize,
uh,
man. I'm sorry.
you're killing
All
me.
right, I'll continue. I
Yeah,
apologize.
yeah,
Monkeys running the
something
asylum. I
about the inmates
apologize.
running the prison or asylum or something. But my point is,
Yeah,
to me, it was kind of weird that they left us alone up there at first. But
yeah.
after seeing,
In a windowless room. It was
yeah,
windowless. Think
with
about
no
that.
windows, it was very,
This was
yeah,
jail. It
it,
was
it
jail.
in a lot of ways it was when you're there 60 to
With
70 hours
gates.
a week.
There were gates in gray concrete. That's called jail, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I can
No
tell you,
soft, no soft touch surfaces, none.
I can tell you, jail is way worse.
Yeah, yeah. Been there,
But
been there, been there, done that.
yeah,
Not as long, but I got you.
yeah. But but no, the thing that was kind of weird at first to me was that they were leaving us alone
Right.
up there, which gave us a lot of
Mm-hmm.
autonomy, but it made more sense, especially after you left and they like tried to put me in charge of it, which was a
Mm-hmm.
terrible idea, whoever's idea that was.
How
uh
did that go?
but then
Uh,
kind of seeing the fact that it went okay, but the fact that my drug use was completely off the fucking rails
no, no,
definitely
no, no, no.
didn't help me
Rephrase
in that
that. The
department.
department probably didn't help
Uh
you. It probably made you more stressed.
Yeah, or that. The fact that I
He
had
needs
my
more
own
fuel.
office with no
I got
windows,
you.
definitely was not good for my help or my health. Yeah, but I will say that I was able to work incredibly long hours and still manage to get nothing done. Uh, but, right, in a way.
Okay,
But yeah,
okay. Which is a feat
what
itself.
was
I'm with
to
you.
me, it
Yep.
became kind of obvious why they left us up there because we kind of had a sort of a plan on how we would get deals done, but then occasionally you'd go to the desk and you would
Mm-hmm.
be inquiring information for a customer, and the desk wanted to have nothing to do with it, even though you went through all the motions.
Mm-hmm.
Just come on in, we'll work it out, blah blah blah. And then but then what ultimately happens, sometimes 1 in 100 you get the customer where you just have to give them a number, and the desk never wanted to do it. Yet 99% of the time
Mm-hmm.
that customer, if you gave them the number, they'd come in and they'd buy at that price, no funny business, in and out in an hour. And it became
True.
weird that, like, it seemed like transparency was the most efficient method of just tell them a price you are willing to sell it for, and then if they come in, no surprise, that's exactly what price you're going to get. And I think that that's part.
But once again,
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say,
you're
i
talking
think
about the
i think that
shifts.
that's why, like, people are willing to pay a little more at sometimes, like, in a place like Carvana or CarMax,
For better
for
service.
better service.
It's
And it
it's
just comes down to the
it's simple,
service.
man. It is this simple. It is this simple, and it's like it's a paradigm shift. Like I said, it's what's going on in the industry is the due to the franchising of car industries. Franchising usually means like family owned, group owned, that type of thing. Meaning they're going to stay in their ways. They're not going to try to change and adapt. And I keep going back to Sears and J.C. Penney, right? That's why they fell out of. They literally fell out of the stratosphere. Sears was the most synonymous name in every home,
Yeah,
right?
the Sears
Now no one even
catalog,
knows. It.
everybody knew
Yeah,
it.
no one even knows what it is because it wouldn't change. So due to that, like you said, the market changed. Why did the market change? Well, guess what? What I was working with Kia a year ago. I'm still Kia now, but Kia a year ago, and he said, remember them telling us that millennials are responsible for 70% of the market in the next 5 years. Well, we think totally different from our parents being millennials. So if we're going into the market and we're like, look, stop BSing us. We're so tired of you guys BSing us. Just tell us the truth. We're not lazy. We're just not trying to hear the nonsense. We know they made highways for a reason, so you don't have to take a back road. You know what I mean? So it's like, tell us what's up. And then you have an industry though with the industry ran by our parents who is like, no, we don't really want to tell you what's
Yeah.
up. We're not used to that. We got to give you a little bit of deception, just kind of lead you on. We got to give you breadcrumbs. So it's kind of hard to break away from that if you're, what I mean, if you're stuck in that mind state. Same thing as like you and I, right? I'm 31, and how old are you? 26, 5, 4, 25. Okay, so grown man age 25, and then you and I, our age, you say, how could someone be racist, right? And we'll be like,
25
that's
actually.
kind of like I do not compute. Like it's
Yeah.
just not even computable to us, right? Our whole job is to try to understand why they are, and then be like, all right, it makes no sense, but let's make sure this doesn't happen again. Where people can actually justify that, right? The people that can justify it, I'm not saying that they're the ones running the industry, but that mind state, that's what's running the industry, meaning that they're still stuck in that old mind state. So, yeah, man, it's hard for people that, if you've always done sales, built off of deception with not disclosing information, and you have to disclose information, like that's a tough thing to do. So, yeah, we were working. It was like the future working in the present, I guess you want to say. The future was upstairs, locked away, and the present was downstairs. Because I learned that model you can plug and play that model anywhere. You can take the same group of people or any group
Hmm.
of people, apply that same model, apply the same methods, and then once again you'll be successful in any format. All they have to do is just be willing to listen to you, and if they trust you in the appointment method and the internet method, and then you're good to go. Now a lot of people won't trust in that though, because like I said, you got to back a lot of money into that, and you got to see those the results and all that good stuff on paper. But that's all it is, man. That's what it is. Because I see a lot of internet departments, and it's like it's kind of sad, man. I'll look at them and I'll see how they operate. I'm like, why are they still doing this to them? Why are they shooting themselves, in the head every day when it can just be so easy? But it is what it is. But we got to thank our old GM for that, though. He did teach us a format. And like I said, Ray Dalio. A lot of the stuff comes from the same principles as Ray Dalio and how he set up Bridgewater. No, Bridgewater, his the investment group, Bridgewater Group out of Connecticut. Yeah, so oh, I mean, look, he's just a billionaire. Probably one of the wealthiest people in the
Like the
world. I think like
college?
number 8. But anyways, so that's what's going on. That's what's going on with him. He's an investment
Oh,
banker,
okay.
so he
I'm sorry.
invests. He literally invests for
I'm not a very
everybody from
well-read
now
person.
big business to the governments. So he literally is a financial advisor and investor for governments. So he's a broker for governments is pretty much what he does. You need some money, you want to flip some money legally, he'll take whatever amount, millions and billions, and put them into his computation or his system computates it. He made an analytical system to, weigh pros and cons and ratios and all that. And they've been
Huh.
working on his computer. It's Cambridge Analytica. I'm not sorry, not Cambridge Analytica, but I'm sorry, it's Bridgewater, but it's very similar to Cambridge Analytica is what I meant to say. So his system is an input output system, and based off those, they can predict where the market's going. If they see like a crash or anything like that. Now it's not fail safe, but they've literally tested it so many times that they trust it, and that's why everybody
Oh,
spends
okay.
millions and billions of dollars with him. And long story short, that is how he is a millionaire or a billionaire, excuse me.
Well, it is funny that like some of the most successful, like as far as industries these days, and I'm not talking about brick and mortar stores, but as far as emerging industries go, it is kind of weird that some of the largest, most like fastest growing companies, like if you look at for Facebook is a pretty good example, Google's another
Correct.
good example, though. With Google, you can make the argument that they've got this operating system and the phones and stuff like that, but with Facebook, you don't have an option to spend $1 with Facebook. Like there's no Facebook Premium or Facebook Gold that you're
Mhm.
paying money for, and yet somehow this has become a billion
Stock.
dollar industry, and it's
Yeah, you got
because that
stock, you got
data.
data.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
the
yep,
stock, but the
yep,
data
yep, yeah,
itself too.
and that's bigger because I mean, you
And
actually sent this link through Facebook, so I feel like the Facebook police are going to
right.
attack us. But yeah, I mean, it's
No, no,
government
it's a
owned
good
though. I mean,
thing.
remember that we kind of overlooked that whole thing about the government taking control of it. So if it's government owned, and you got to think that's your number one. It's the number one. What's the word I'm looking for? Not, like a CIA device, something that's going to gather information. It's the number one tool to gather information besides the phone.
Oh yeah, it's like, I mean, it's like the people are literally putting wiretaps in their own home, like with these
Yeah,
Alexa
it's our
Echo
new
Dots
identity
or
though.
whatever.
It's our
I mean,
new. So
people are volunteering to do this thing that, like, we in what
oh yeah,
1984,
yeah.
like the book, that we, oh, like we're gonna have these
Oh, we're already
TVs
in
that
there.
look at us, and it's like, well, yeah, we're literally there, and yet every single year when they make it one that's bigger and better with better resolution, we don't give a fuck. We go out and buy it as soon as possible. We're excited.
But but it's not the TV anymore though. It's the phone. So I mean, and these we know these things already. So like cookies, where let's say you have a conversation, you and I are having a
Right.
conversation about this right now, and then we'll both open up Instagram, and then it'll
Oh,
be
well,
nothing but car dealership ads. Or you'll have a conversation about a mattress, right? Oh, I need a new mattress, and then you go on Facebook, and it's like the
well,
purple mattress or
here's
whatever pops up. So that's the cookie data that they can gather.
the data and the cookies that they use. Here's something that's pretty interesting. A lot of people, it's a misconception that the Facebook algorithm, that you talk about something, and then a lot of people have the misconception that your phone's microphone is listening to you, and then that's why you get those ads. What's crazy is Facebook actually is not using your microphone to listen to your conversations. The metadata they gather about the way that you surf the web, they're able to accurately predict what things you will be talking about. They're not using the microphone. They are predicting your behavior based off of how you act on and interact online.
That's scary. That's like that documentary I was told to watch. Actually, it was about Cambridge Analytica, and I don't want to go off subject, but it was talking about that. But I don't know. Sometimes, unless it's predicting like a week, and if that's the case, it's God. You know what I mean? At that point, AI is definitely God. If it's predicting that I'm going to have this conversation a week from now at
Yeah,
this
that
moment, and then it pops up. But I literally had a conversation at work, and like I said, I think it was talking about mattresses. I got a new apartment. I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna get this memory foam mattress. Blah blah blah. Didn't even pull it up on the
well,
phone. It didn't even did not pull it up, and then literally I go to Instagram and it pops up. Now Instagram though, you got to remember it's owned by
mhm.
Facebook, so that's another thing too. I want to tie that in because you were talking about the digital market space.
A lot of people don't
I mean,
realize that. Like, I know people that use Instagram that don't have a Facebook because they don't want
right,
Facebook to
right.
track
I
their
mean, it's
data.
inevitable. I mean, as soon as you say allow, allow access, can so and so use your microphone? Can so and so use your camera? They didn't ask what they're using it for. They just said, can we use it? And as soon as you say yes, it's fair game. But what I was going to say was this digital summit, going back in, this is from Nissan's digital summit of
Right, sorry.
2017. Let me read some of these stats off to you. Pretty much, and this is what it says, it's 2019. This is from 2017 to summer. All right, so this is 2 years ago. TV, Nissan pretty much said TV is going to be obsolete. TV is going to be mobile, creates the 24/7 connection. So that's where Netflix won the game. Think about Netflix used to have to order Netflix in the mail. I don't know if you remember that. Netflix used to, yeah, exactly. It takes you back, right?
I do
And
remember
it
that.
was
I remember you
Blockbuster and
got the
Netflix.
3 discs, and
Yep,
3 discs, and it was 2 days to ship, so you could watch
yep.
a DVD, have 1 DVD on the way back with another DVD on the way to you, so you had 1 single movie a day, which is crazy because I probably watch, like, 3 or 4 different things on their streaming service a day now.
Correct, and it was Blockbuster and it was Netflix, and you had to choose one. So everybody ended up going with Blockbuster didn't want to buy Netflix; they didn't believe in it. So Netflix said, "Oh, we got you," and then that's how they got it. But then they got into the digital
Yeah.
space with the phone. So it's like a lot of people are talking about with their specials, like comedians and stuff. Is like, how come it seems like Netflix has so much success? It says because the accessibility. People just want it to be easy. So if I can go to my phone and watch everything, that's what I do. I don't even own a TV. I watch everything from my phone if I'm watching TV. You know what I mean? Because it's there. It's so convenient. So mobile creates a 24/7 connection. At 2017, 78% of folks have their phone with them all but 2 hours in a day. All right, that's
Yeah, I
crazy.
probably wouldn't even leave my phone alone for 2 hours. Even when I go on a run or go to the gym, I have my phone with
Okay,
me.
look,
I did 13 miles today and I was still
hey,
fucking around on social media the whole
well,
time.
look,
Yeah, no, I ran 13 miles this morning. I woke up at 5 a.m. and I was out there. It took me way longer than I'm willing
who
to
told
admit, but
you?
the fact that I did it at all is
Who told you
commendable.
you went 13 miles? Your phone?
Huh? Oh,
No,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
joking. I'm
of
joking.
course.
I'm not against the phone.
No, I
I'm
used
not
my
against the
phone
phone.
speedometer to track,
I'm
and
not
then
against
plus
the
the
phone.
track that I well, the track that I walk on is also a miles, and I did 13 laps. And then my phone's pedometer told me that I did like what 12.7
Right.
miles.
Well,
So
check it out. So
yeah.
like I said, so going back, so like with the conversation, 87% of millennials always have their phone by them day and night. So when you sleep, your phone is closer to you than your own kid, right? That's almost 100%. And then in
Yeah.
2017, this is the stat I was giving you. Millennials will dominate the market, and by 2025, they'll be 75% of the market. So, like we were talking about with the auto, if that's the case, that's the market. You and I are the market. We're now selling cars to our friends, our peers. And we know talking to our peers, it's a totally different game. Millennials are more of a straight up, less is more. We don't really want to argue or conflict or anything like that. You know what I mean? We're just looking for the most logical thing that we can do. And that's really it. And one thing I'm learning too with the market as you stay in sales is that a lot of people don't care about a lot of the a lot of luxury. Luxury is not a big thing
Oh yeah.
like you would think it used to be in the past because I think technology has superseded luxury,
Absolutely.
and that's important.
Absolutely, it has.
Yep,
Like, yeah, with like Nissan, they've got like the around view
all of them
monitor,
now,
and that's available.
all of them now.
Well, pretty much all of them, but at the time that I was working there, I guess I should say I am a couple
It's
years out
okay.
of date.
Kia has a
Uh,
surround view monitor as we speak, so I can demonstrate it if you'd
oh
like to
yeah,
see.
I shouldn't be talking about. I've got you
It's
on
okay.
here. I called you the
It's
Kia
okay.
jump
It's
man at the
okay.
beginning. I shouldn't be
I
talking about
understand.
Nissan
I
so
get it.
much. Well, with great products like Kia cars, I love the new SUV you guys have.
Yeah, yeah. Tell your ride.
People are gonna think that I'm
It's
getting paid
that's
for
all right.
this if I
They're
keep
not
it
even
up.
paying me for
Uh,
that. They're okay.
well,
Tell your ride.
right, but you can get that around view backup camera,
Yep.
and you're able to get that without even getting leather. So I mean, the fact it used to be you had to get the leather before you could get the navigation system, but now like you can get the navigation, you can get all that shit
Dude,
without even a
base
sunroof.
models and blind spot. Well, base models have blind spot and lane departure, and 7-inch touchscreens and Apple CarPlay
You're
now.
kidding.
That's what we have. So
You
you
are
can hook up your
kidding.
phone and navigation, all that stuff comes up. All your features come up, and then the voice activation is better. It's voice activated nav because it now uses Siri, so it's better. It's better recognition, and your car just got upgraded. So it's like everything now is there. Oh, stat. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm going on a tangent really quick. This is a stat from 2 years ago.
Mhm.
2 billion people are on Facebook. 2017. So 7 billion in the world. 2 billion. 20 more than 25% of the world's population has Facebook. 20% of
Is that
this
it?
is 20
I
this
would
is
think I would think
2017.
it was
This
more
is
people.
2017. So this is 2 years ago. So 20% of all phone
And
usage. So check this out. This is where it gets really eerie. 20% of all phone usage is on these two apps, Facebook and Instagram, which was 700 million 2 years ago. It's short-ended, and
holy
it's
shit.
so Instagram is a short-ended version of Facebook, so it's not as effective for sales. Now it is. At the time, it wasn't. So it says right here, the mobile shirt began in 2015. Facebook, it took 4 years to get to 50 million. Mobile, it took 2 years to get to 50 million. There's 7.9 active
Mm.
SIM cards and 7.5 billion people in the world. There's more active SIM cards than people. There's four, and then here's the kicker. I'm gonna leave it here. There's four apps take up more than 75% of the phone usage on apps. And you know what those four apps are? Face.
I'm guessing
Yep.
Facebook, Instagram,
Nope.
Snapchat, and oh no, not Snapchat. Okay, so what is it then?
Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and WhatsApp.
Oh
Yep,
no
and
shit.
WhatsApp. So these four apps are responsible for more than 3/4 of the entire use of app usage. And guess who owns
Wait,
all four of them?
it's all
Mark
Facebook, right?
Zuckerberg.
Like, but wait a minute. But do people use WhatsApp
Drops
like
mic.
that? Like,
Drops mic.
I would think that YouTube would be bigger than like WhatsApp, but that's crazy.
So all the, that gap that people with the Facebook and the Messenger don't have, that's the WhatsApp. That's a world user. So like people, military, overseas,
Oh,
stuff like that, you can communicate with WhatsApp freely. You can
Oh, so
go,
that makes more sense
yeah.
why people in America who have, the greatest cell phone service on earth, brought to you by Verizon.
Oh,
We're doing
okay,
all the
okay.
fake product plugs today. I'm trying to show how marketable the podcast is because I really don't want to get a real job.
Somebody needs to sponsor you, man. Somebody needs to sponsor. We're gonna find it. But I was gonna say,
Oh
long
no,
story short,
I'm bringing a bunch of. I've got a couple different breweries lined up
let's
to
go.
have different brewers on the show. So I'm excited for that. It is growing. The community is growing. And I don't know. I'm pretty excited. The podcast is doing some cool things. So
I like it.
let me just stop patting myself on the back because my arm is
Yeah,
starting to hurt.
please do, please do. I
Uh,
got to know. I was kidding, but yeah, man. So the same guy owns, and there's nothing wrong with the guy, but I'm saying, so if one person owns pretty much all digital communication, that's pretty much what it is.
right.
So it's like, where do you think the market's gonna go? So like how we were kind of just basing the theme off of our experience with sales. It's like it's
Hmm.
not that hard, man. It's not the same as it used to be because you just have to make sense to people, and people are people. It's like we're not in the car business. We're not in we're not in this isn't the radio or the media business. We're in the people business, man. People are people. People listen to this podcast because they're people want to hear real things from other people. People buy a car because they're people who have people needs and have people money and have to afford, have to be able to afford this car so they can still remain people. They can go to work as people, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like
Well,
these are people.
that was always the craziest thing to me is that because I've always thought of a car as something that I need to have because I grew up in the middle of nowhere. Like
Right.
biking or walking to work was not an option for how I was gonna accumulate money to live a life. And
Hmm.
then so I see a car as a necessity because most people in America don't have the option of taking public transportation to work every day.
Correct.
It's not realistic.
Where I'm at,
And
yes.
because of that, you bring up the franchise thing that it's so weird that we go people go to a car dealership every 2 to 15 years, depending on what kind of buyer they are. If they just drive a car until the wheels fall off, or if every couple few years they upgrade. But people go to a car dealership and negotiate on a car, which is arguably as important or more important than groceries.
Right.
Whereas if you went to the grocery store and they rang it up and they looked at you and they said, that'll be $87, and you looked back at them and said, I'll give you $65,
Mm, yeah,
they would
exactly.
fucking laugh at you. Like,
But
and not to mention, they would tell the story over and over again about how big of an asshole you are.
but to their defense, being someone, hurt people, so you gotta stop hurting. I'm talking about myself. So with people, people know not what they do, right? So we're talking about 1984 and George Orwellian society. Um, marketing is sales, and sales is marketing. So therefore, do you know what funds or who has the highest fund for media, or I'm sorry, the highest percentage of commercials? Do you know what industry owns that share? The
I
highest.
would guess car insurance if I had to guess.
I was gonna close. It's actually auto dealership, car dealerships.
Oh, okay.
They own
Well,
the
then
bulk.
I'm pretty close. It's still sort of in the auto
It all ties
envelope.
together, right? You need that if you want
Yeah.
to get some tags on your car, right?
It would make sense. That would be a strong, second.
You see where I'm going with this? So if that's the
Yeah.
case, if that's all you see, omnipresent, what's the most important thing to you? So like right now, right? If you turn on, I don't watch TV, but if you turn on TV right now, you're gonna see nothing but football ads. You go on Facebook. It's funny how whatever ads come out, Facebook follows, right? So the commercials come, Facebook follows. People start talking about football. Now football is the main thing. So the more football is now being marketed and talking and swirling around in the air, guess what? Guess what happens to football sales? They stay up. It's not that football is the best sport ever. It's that football is the best marketing sport ever. That's why NBA is doing so much better now. They're worldwide because one, they say, wait a minute, you can't put a football field everywhere, but you can put a basketball court everywhere. Okay, let's start tapping in. These kids like hip hop culture. Okay, hip hop's everywhere, so they're tying hip hop into the world thing. They're tying basketball courts to the world thing. Now you have the fashion. They say, what else is the culture like? Oh, we can get fashion in this. They're attacking fashion, and then what happens? Kia, they get a car sponsor. And Kia says, "Oh, we're trendy, right? We're going to go ahead and just somehow, some way, Blake Griffin won the dunk contest for jumping over an Optima, right? You know what I mean? So it's like they knew what they were doing, and these brands know what they're doing, so it keeps you relevant. So, like I said, you say that I love that new SUV. Do you know how much we hear this every day? with this Telluride?
Probably a lot because it's fucking great looking, and it seems like every time I see a Kia with the paper dealer plates on the back of it, it's
It's
one
one
of
of
those
those,
new SUVs.
and they
What
only
is that
made
thing
and
called,
they
by the
only
way?
it's called a Telluride, and this let's
Telluride.
talk
There we
about this
go.
really quick. Let's talk about this. So Kia, I think this is some of the most genius marketing in the 9 years I've been in the business. This is the best and the hottest vehicle I've ever seen come out ever.
Oh,
And I
absolutely.
mean hotter than the new gen Ford Mustang when I was with them with Ford. But they tell you right. So this is what Kia did. This is their game. They made so let's say like a Forte or a Sorrento. They're making almost a half a million of these cars a year. 300, 250, 350, 400,000. That's about average what you're gonna how many you're gonna produce in a year. To tell you right, they're only making 40,000. So supply and demand is there. They know what it looked like,
Whoa.
but then the price point, right? So you can get the highest one up and you're talking the best third row access, more interior space than a Tahoe. It's nicer. It's literally got all the features of Volvo, Audi, all that stuff. It is decked out. Driver speak, nav, suede headliners. I mean, decked out to the T. The highest.
Jesus, you're making me think I
Hold
shouldn't
on,
be driving a
hold
fucking
on, hold
Buick.
on, hold on. Let me finish. The highest trim level though is only 48,000 MSRP. And you say only 48,000. What does that mean? Well, you can go to
That's
a
10 grand less than a Pathfinder.
or go base Tahoe and start in the 60s, go apples to apples Tahoe and go into the 80s. You see where I'm
Yeah, that's what
going?
I'm saying. The apples
So,
to apples Nissan is 10 grand more, and it's
so,
still a fucking Nissan.
so here's how they did this, right? So you know you got the product, right? Because the product is there, product is hot. But then we said we can mass produce these things, but why? Why don't we just sell them limited? Cut our costs. We're going to cut the price of this thing drastically. We can charge more, but we know our market. We don't want to stay away, so let's go ahead and just cut into their market. Let's be a market disruptor. So the whole thing with the Telluride is not to just sell a ton of Tellurides because they only make 40,000, and they're all made in America and only in America. That's the only way you can get them. So on top of that, so let's just make a little bit supply. Let's disrupt the market and then go from there. And what that does, you disrupting the market. People love disruptors. So they say, "Oh, I like that. I like what they did there." And it brings the marketing to Kia. You're paying attention to Kia, like you said. You didn't buy one
Oh
yet,
yeah,
but you're paying
a
attention.
car company that I didn't give two shits about when I worked at Nissan. I thought Kias were a joke, and now, I mean, obviously,
Thought they
I
were a
see
joke,
your
right?
stuff on Facebook because you're selling cars every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I see every day a new Kia Jumpman photo.
Thank you.
Uh,
I try to jump a
but
lot.
yeah, but dude, those things are tight. And one of my
Yeah,
neighbors
beautiful.
got one, and I have a thing, obviously living in downtown Richmond, I managed to not get myself shot for like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't look in people's cars when they're parked in front of their house because I find it to be very
Yeah,
rude and
don't do
invasive.
that. Don't do that.
Yeah, but I want to because I'm not going to go to a dealership and waste somebody's time. Like, hey, here's a car that I mean, I might be able to get financing for it, but I'm also a full time student,
Right.
so not in a
Yeah,
position to
no
buy.
need. And like I said, these are luxury. I'm just telling you I'm just sticking to the business side where we were talking about how
Hmm.
marketing and sales are the same. So I'll just give you an example of a modern day example of and the reason I'm saying this in my opinion, I think Kia is at the forefront of marketing when it comes to the car industry. They are a little bit more trendy, so out of brands, this is the most enjoyable brand I've ever had selling, or the most I've never enjoyed selling a brand more than Kia, is what I'm trying to say, just because of the brand and what you get with the package and the marketing and the sales and all that stuff too. And that's the point I was trying to make. So that's it, man. It's just they're transparent. You're being real. You're being what it is, and that's really it. And I like to say like Toyota and Subaru, they don't do rebates, man. They're like, look, the product is that good. And as we both know, what's the rule of sales? Do you still remember the fundamental rule? When is a sale made? What has to happen?
They have to drive the car over the curb. They have to take
Man,
delivery.
you were taught. Oh man, God, you're corrupt. Golly, this guy was a gross guy.
Yeah,
All about gross.
yeah.
Did it go over the curve yet? That's a sale. No,
That's yeah.
when
Once
value exceeds
they
price,
password
when
the keys home, we're done.
golly, not taught you nothing. When value exceeds price, you have a sale.
Well,
So
that's why they had to get rid of you because they needed somebody like me to be in charge of the
yeah,
internet department.
it wasn't. So he's making too much sense. Get this guy out of here.
Yeah, this guy is making this experience way too easy on customers. That curly headed fuck, we could probably
Yeah,
get
man.
him
But
to be in
yeah,
charge.
yeah.
Man, but yeah, that was I mean, dude, those things are tight, and it's pretty obvious that you obviously believe in the product that you sell, which is probably that's really the number one rule of sales, right? You
Conviction.
have to believe in the product, and
Nah, I'm not gonna say. I mean, I think it's important. I'm not gonna say it's number one.
For me,
But
it's number one
I
because
do.
I'm reckless and I'll quit a job.
Yeah, I know you're no longer on headphones, so I got to be a little less transparent. But yeah, so no, but yeah, man, I would say that though, but like I said, conviction is very important. Conviction is important for the salesman in order to remain a salesman. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense? Because like if he's not has no conviction, or even if he doesn't believe in a product, if he can't convince himself, if he doesn't have the conviction to find conviction, you get what I mean? He's not going to last
Yeah.
because you can't keep going without any conviction. And that goes for anything though. That's anything in life. That goes for girlfriends. There's girlfriends I lost conviction in, and then I didn't believe in them anymore. I didn't believe in us.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, ouch, ouch. I'm sorry.
We'll save that for the next
There you
episode.
go.
Yeah.
But yeah, selling and
Um,
marketing is the same. Remember that they're no longer separate.
in the world of today, I mean, you look at like a product like YouTube, for instance, is a similar. If you think about it, by nature, it's similar to Netflix. You're not downloading things; you're streaming it directly into your home. But a lot of products now we pay for with time. Like even this podcast here, nobody has to pay money to listen to it. Nobody pays $1 a month so that way they can hear me
They can.
prattle on about how great I am. They can if they want, and I'll start selling T-shirts eventually or something,
Kickstarter.
and they're going to be like Hanes T-shirts with like the sleeves like cut off of them.
Okay. All right. I like
Yeah, they're
that.
going to be something really,
Do they come with
yeah,
mullet
something
wigs
really
too?
douchey.
Can I get a mullet wig with my cut off T-shirt?
Yeah, something like
I'm in
that.
there.
But people pay for things with time now, and then we usually that you look at a little ad for 5 seconds, a minute, however it is, whatever kind of video it is, and that's kind of the currency we're moving towards. We're paying for some of these products with our purchases.
Yep.
And like you were talking about the mattress thing, mattress companies have. I'm sure that cars are the number one advertisers on television,
Mm-hmm.
but mattress companies have got to be a strong second in terms of the internet. In terms
Close,
of the internet,
close, but don't
mattress
forget about
companies are
don't
relentless.
forget about alcohol and
Oh
tobacco.
yeah,
So
booze.
tobacco they pulled
Yeah.
back. Truth actually was successful. Let's talk about disruptors. So once again, that was a nonprofit group. Truth. That's another perfect example of marketing from the color orange, meaning orange gives off vibrancy, life, and happiness. So everything was about orange. When you think of the commercials, you think of teenagers, you think of orange, you think of truth. You're like
Yeah, I remember
and
those
they
commercials.
always made you uncomfortable, even if you didn't smoke. You're like, this makes me uncomfortable. But they
Dude, the
disrupted.
why do you smoke commercials were the
But they
worst when I was a
but
kid,
they
and they used to come on Nickelodeon.
they disrupted the market, right? And then what happened was it made them put the Surgeon General's warning on the packages. It made them pull back on all the. You can't market tobacco the same way as you used to. When's the last time you seen like a Swisher or like like all the people like Roll Bloods? And when's the last time you see the commercials for one of those companies?
I haven't. I've
Exactly.
seen Wiz Khalifa and Juicy J talk
That's
about them
all. That's
though.
all you're gonna get because you're not gonna be able to market
Right.
it beyond the gas station. So, and they still sell, right? So, sales is marketing.
Oh
But
yeah.
going back to that, it's alcohol. Alcohol is the big business here. So that's why football. Once again, football. Their biggest sponsor is what? Budweiser, Bud Light.
Oh, Budweiser. Yeah,
Yep.
Bud Light.
Yep.
That's crazy. Full
Yeah, yeah,
circle.
we're all controlled. We're all controlled by marketing, and that's why we literally, when you sit back and just like isolate yourself, you realize that you buy everything you buy because you were told to buy it.
Hmm.
That's a scary thing.
I That's definitely the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's probably the powerful statement to end the show
Mm.
on. Though I think in this episode, it
Preach.
would make more sense for you to introduce your own song, since I'm usually the one who's saying, this is some more music by Keenan Rayner. Here's your song title here. I feel
Oh, for
like
sure.
I've
I don't
got
even know what's
you.
playing. Like what? What?
Oh well, I mean, no. This usually in the show.
Uh-huh.
This is since you've never listened
I
to it.
apologize, listeners. I have. There's just bits and pieces. I apologize.
Usually, this is the part where I say, so we'll leave it there, and this is fill in the blank, like Be Kind. That's probably my favorite, or Queso Drip. Those are probably my two favorites from the beats.
Who
That you
knows,
sent me.
man? It's just gonna be some Keenan Rayner. It might be a production, might be a song. I do everything. I don't know, man. It's just something for me. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the energy and the vibration of it, and that's pretty much all I need you to do. Receive the frequency, raise the frequency, and let's keep it moving.
All right. Well, then we'll say this is Be Kind by Keenan Rayner, and y'all enjoy. Thanks for listening.
Thank y'all.